Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I had an idea that I thought would be really fun. I had picked up an egg decorating kit before Easter at a discount store for $1.25, but I never got around to doing eggs with the kids. They're getting older and busier, and I guess I was just trying to grasp a little too tightly to their childhood. So anyways, I had this kit that was unused, and rather than hang on to it till next year and forget about it, I figured I would try to use it for some artistic purposes. I added some warm water here, about halfway to the total fill line. I'm not going to put vinegar in because I don't think it's really necessary for dyeing paper goods and fabric. And I'm just going to let this sit and let the little tablets dissolve on their own. I have some seam binding, which I think would be really fun to dye to match our project. And I also have some tags. And my goal here is to actually make some bookmarks because I was running low. I don't know where they all disappear to, but we are big readers here, so we always need bookmarks, and I thought it would be also a fun way to use up some of these tags that I have. And I noticed that the egg coloring kit came with a clear crayon, which are always nice for watercolor effects. And then I thought, what if I do some stamping, and then I color over the image with a clear crayon, and then I dye the tags? Then I would have, I think, a really neat effect. And I've got some beautiful stamps from Darkroom Door that are from our sponsor, TopFlightStamps.com. They find the coolest stamps all over the globe and bring them here to us in the United States. And I thought that would be really fun to stamp them on these tags. So without further ado, let's get to it. I'm going to use Ranger Archival ink for this. However, I think you could probably use any kind of ink you wanted because the wax that we put on top is going to keep the ink from seeping in there. I'm also going to stamp on a scrap of paper. That will keep my my ink off of the nonstick mat so it won't go and get on the backs of any of my other projects. You can combine stamps on a design, or you could stick to one image per tag if you want to. It's completely up to you. I'm going to keep it kind of simple because I want the color in the background to have plenty of room to shine. One side of your stamp might be a little bit smoother than the other too, or one side of your tag rather. So for good stamping, you probably want to pick the smoothest side. And you don't have to do the wax resist that I'm going to do in a second, but if you don't, make sure you're using a waterproof ink like the Ranger Archival. Or you could heat emboss your ink. That would actually be very pretty, I think. And while you have all your supplies out, it's a good idea to make a bunch of these. That way you can give some as gifts or donate some to the library. Oh, that one's really cute. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna go and just kind of color some of these images with the clear crayon here. And always save these crayons because they'd be fun for like for watercolor. I really don't know how this is going to turn out. The colors look kind of wimpy, to be honest, in the little cups. So I don't know if they're going to be bright enough to really show up that well. So I might have to think of another plan for this. But I thought it'd be kind of fun and, you know, just a fun thing to experiment with. And maybe I'll just use some of these crayons here. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I don't know if it's going to turn out well or not. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of plop these into the different colors and let them sit for a minute and see what happens. I didn't heat set anything. Hopefully the ink is permanent enough that it's not going to get smeared or bothered, but I do have a little bit of a feeling that this color might not be strong enough to really dye the paper as much as I want. But we will see. I can see it kind of resisting on that one already. Oh yeah, it's starting to soak in. And then while I'm at it, I'm also going to make some seam binding, and this is pretty simple. all you have to do is just cut off a piece of the seam binding and plop that right in as well. I'm not going to pre-wet it because I find that it seems like that that dye is just kind of weak. I wish I didn't put so much water in. So if you're doing this at home, I think I would use less and use like nice hot water. I used pretty warm water, but it seemed like those pellets did not want to dissolve. I don't know if it's because they were old. I don't know. I bought them this year, but I bought them at Martin's, so they could have been last year's egg pellets. But I never find egg pellets to be terribly robust anyway, as far as coloring eggs anyway. And I don't know if the vinegar was supposed to help the tablets dissolve, because even if you're just using regular food coloring, they call for vinegar. So, so I don't think so. I just think they're kind of slow to dissolve is all. Okay, so I'm gonna start dipping the other ends into other colors. Maybe let's take them all out of the original colors first. And then go dip them in a contrasting color. I'm going to be laminating these, so hopefully any wrinkling will come out then. And we'll let those soak for a bit. To be honest, I'm a little disappointed with the colors that I got here. I mean, the colors are pretty, they're just not as saturated as I want, so I really wish I used less water when I mix these up, or maybe if I used a little rubbing alcohol or something so it would dry quicker, but it is what it is, and we'll see how it looks when it dries. I was very pleased with how the ribbon came out, though. The ribbon really took the dye well, and we'll see these when they dry as well. They're going to have a beautiful texture to them. I actually really like how these two kind of bump together, and now I've got a pretty two-tone color, so I might actually with some of these just kind of dip them in like another color that complements them, and see what kind of interesting looks I can get. Maybe do a little bit more turquoise on that, and play with it that way. Maybe try a little bit of pink on that one, and see what kind of cool combinations I can come up with that way, so I get kind of like a little bit of an ombre effect. So it worked really great on these porous ribbons. Jury's still out in the tags, but we'll let this dry and then we'll come back. Okay, let's take a look here. What I did was I took one of these, you probably have seen them before, they're those like cube unit sections. I had a bunch of them left over for some storage I used to have, and I laid them out so that my ribbons and my tags could dry from both sides. It just really speeds up the drying, and I did use my heat tool to dry things up a little bit. I really love the look of the ribbons. I think they came out really nice, those subtle colors, especially if there were a couple colors mixing together. I think they're divine. I think they're gorgeous. Like this one here where it was just pink, I don't think is nearly as pretty as the ones that kind of had a few other colors and that were a little softly colored. So for the tags, I did that initial dipping that you saw me do on camera, and then I dried them, and they looked really pretty. I was surprised that they were bright enough. They didn't really shift, but I did go in and dip them a little bit and kind of flick on a little bit more, and they got pretty soaked again. Let them dry. And like almost think like this is too dark, really. So I feel like one, and then maybe a little accenting, like let it dry, add a little bit more, let it dry, I think you're good. These are still a little bit damp, so I'm going to let them dry fully, and then I'm going to laminate them. And by that time, my ribbon should be dry for the little ribbon tags on my bookmarks. Okay, I laminated and trimmed these, and then I used the pretty seam binding that we dyed to make the little tags or little tassels for our bookmarks. So all I did was I either took one or two pieces of my hand-dyed seam binding and just kind of folded them in half and pressed it through the hole on my tag from the front, and then I just opened up the loop and pulled the tails through, and I just think it's an elegant way to finish it off. I think these are so fun and colorful, and let's face it, sometimes as parents we have the best intentions, and I even bought white eggs and the Easter egg kit, but you know, my kids are teenagers now and they were busy with so many other different things this weekend that we never got to dyeing the eggs. So if that's the situation you're in, you know what, grab the kids and make some bookmarks, or dye some other fun things that you can use. Just keep in mind that this is not going to be like a washable dye. If I were to rinse these off, I'm pretty sure that dye would come out of there. So, you know, I wouldn't do like t-shirts or something, but then again, getting a t-shirt tie-dyeing kit and doing that with your teens would be a lot of fun too. So this is a great way to use those up, or you may see these on clearance in the grocery store or the department store, and you may think, I wonder if I can use that in my crafting, and you totally can. The lamination is going to protect it a little bit from fading. It will definitely protect it from moisture making the colors run, but if you don't have a laminating machine, these are just the perfect width to laminate with some packing tape, and you can get that at the dollar store or any other home improvement store. So that's another great way you can finish these. You may want to iron them first though, if you are going to do that, because they were kind of wrinkly and warped from all the dye that we dipped them in. But ironing them wouldn't hurt them a bit and would help them flatten out really nicely. The heat laminator also does that, so it saved me a step there. I want to thank you so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give me a thumbs up and check out our sponsor, TopFlightStamps.com. These beautiful stamps from Darkroom Door I found there, along with many other stamps that are curated from around the world. So if you've had a hard time finding stamps that came from other countries, you just don't know where to look, try Top Flight Stamps. They have such a beautiful selection. Of course, you can use whatever supplies you have around your house, so please don't feel like you have to buy anything new, but I like to leave the resources when available. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.